Just before we jump into today's episode, we would like to tell you something. We have still tickets left for the Pavilion in Glasgow.
But not too many.
Not
so
too many.
Act quick. We're looking forward to it, aren't we? We just had a production meeting there.
Yes.
I'm excited about it.
Got some good guests lined up.
Exciting plans for the show itself. 31st of March. Tickets still available, but are going fast. So we'll hopefully see you there. We also, of course, are on Patreon, and for as little as £3 a month, you can sign up and get access to an extra episode every 2 weeks, as well as bonus content from the previous live shows and other things, including first dibs on tickets for upcoming shows that we do, not just the live pods, but sometimes we stand-up shows and things that we do. Plenty of stuff on there for you to enjoy.
Yes, bonus episode once every 2 weeks. I think you said that.
Yeah.
But plenty for you to enjoy over there.
Little as
Safe
£3.
in the knowledge that you're putting food in the mouths of our children.
Yes, keeping
Supporting the pod.
Future kids.
Yes.
keeping us going, keeping us growing.
That's
Steve
time
might
of
have,
recording.
Steve might have some interesting information to show us in a minute.
I don't have kids.
Boys, would you like to be the godfathers to my children?
Yes, and to find out if we say what our answer is, you need to enjoy today's episode. Not this one, but the Patreon we're about to record. Anyway, so to that, guys, enjoy today's episode.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Enjoy.
Welcome to the Some Laugh podcast.
It could be like, oh, that was some laugh, or there was just some laughs.
Well, no promising all laugh.
No,
It's
there's going to be some.
some laugh.
How is this podcast going? How's it
We're
Pavilion?
not
Must be
beating
so good.
Rogan, but we're doing all right.
Let's see you beat Rogan. That's like a victory,
That is
man,
good.
for the
aye.
good guys.
It's nice to have somebody out there doing it.
Aye, and that's what I felt like last night. I was like, fucking yes, man. Of all, I don't care about anything else, but fucking Rogan.
That's it. All you had to do is just start a podcast where you talk about how you can't say it anymore and you're fine.
We just keep saying all this stuff, and we're like, this is never going to get past the lawyers. Like, we've edited it, and we're like, this
Really?
is never getting past the lawyer.
That's the great thing about having such a low level of success. We don't really need to worry about that.
We don't have
See you in the day,
lawyers.
boys. Let's test that theory.
So you're running for rector at Glasgow Uni at the moment,
Do you
Susie?
know what? I might
Is this,
even...
this
It's
is
part of the campaign.
I was
trail,
up
isn't it?
flyering. I was up flyering today. This is my first day flyering.
I
There you
didn't
go.
even know this.
There
That's
is the
great.
flyer. There it is.
Susie will stand up for students.
You've
See
at
what I
least got
done
the
there?
best headshots
That's,
of the
that's a good.
candidates,
That's a
surely.
good pun. She'll stand up for you.
What?
And I done it with my
Not for less
poster.
than a good fee though, but she'll do it.
Fully expect a good feature. No even a paid position, but I thought I was asked, and I was like, "Don't be ridiculous." I never went to university. I was told university wasn't for me, and I was like, "Oh, all right, okay." And looking back, it was exactly for somebody like me. Maybe not at that time, but I was very busy. I thought, no, I'm going to do this because Glasgow Uni is such, like, for so many people, it's so not attainable, right? And it's seen as this magical kind of educational enclave, which in many respects it is. But I think you should try and get as much representation in there. And it's quite difficult for people from a working class background. It's a very difficult uni to get into. Like, really, really difficult to get into. Like, I was talking to two girls today who were both doing medicine, and one of them was told at a school, go and do pharmacy first, then come back and put yourself through medical school. And that's what she's doing. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. That's that. So the other three candidates that are standing, one's a Labour MSP, which you would think being an MSP during a cost of living crisis, you'd be busy.
Yeah.
No busy enough, obviously. The other one is a surgeon who is actually out in Gaza. I think he might also be in Yemen just now as well. I don't know. But he's standing on one policy issue, which is, of course, Gaza. Now, I am pro-Palestine, you know. I mean, I'm a working class Roman Catholic lesbian. Of course, I'm pro-Palestine. And then the other person is the sitting rector just now, Lady Rita Ray, who went through the uni in the 70s and is now like a High Court judge. A lot of accusations have been put to her that she's not been a visible rector.
Is that mainly your campaign?
Your smear campaign.
And
She's never in that student union.
no, tell you what, no, how we'll sort this? A game of killer pool. That'll sort this right out. That's the election that we need.
Beer pong.
Aye, that's it. So she, but she took the role in 2021, and I'd imagine that would have been quite a difficult time to try and do all the stuff you need to do. But it was funny going about the campus today and talking to like a load of people doing it. I was like, do you know that this is happening? They were like, no. It's like, do you know what the rector does? And they're like, no.
I
Do they
was
turn up
going
at
to say,
graduation?
what's the duties? What do you need to do?
So you're meant to essentially be the conduit between the students and the senior university management, right? So there's things like, so there's obviously diversity, inclusion, accessibility. That's a big thing because it's quite an old building. So the newer buildings have all got accessibility. Then there's like the divestment in the fossil fuels and the arms trades, because that is it would appear that Glasgow Uni are certainly earning some money from shares in BAE systems and the likes. And that's quite upsetting for a lot of the students. And then you've also got, for me, which I think is quite a big thing, the affordability of education. Because if you're Scottish, yes, your fees get paid for you, but ultimately you still need to go to uni. Now, you might get free travel. I think it's 23 and under. But after that, you've still got, buy a coffee, buy your lunch, buy your stuff. And it's expensive. So even if they try and recruit more working class students and try and do this and try and put all these things in place, and the Scottish government are, fully behind further and higher education and those fees being paid, actually, if you're from like a lone parent family with a low income, that's still very difficult for you to go to university and do your thing. So that's my thing. Of course it is. But it's interesting. Do you know what? It's interesting. And I think I can bring something different to it. And I think, I would certainly want to work with the students and the lecturers and trying to make the university better and working with the management. I mean, it's the fourth oldest English-speaking university in the world, and it's a top 100, and it's in our wee city. And I'm always really proud of that, you know what I mean? And I'm always really proud of, like, when you see that beautiful big building in the skyline, you're like, that's ours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think this generation, the under 30s, especially the under 25s, have had it harder than any other generation in post-war Britain. Like, I was 17, New Labour came in. There's lots of kind of, positive rights, especially for the LGBT community. And the world was just a better place and the economy was fine and everything. Whereas if you're in your early 20s, like, you have lived through numerous Middle Eastern wars, a global financial meltdown, in this country austerity, Brexit shambles, COVID global, and then the whole cost of living crisis. And you're like, no wonder they don't want to vote and they're so apathetic. Right. Do you know what I mean? So it's about trying to engage people and say, I think I could do you a turn.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean?
How will you, like, fund stuff? Is that not your job? Are you just feeding back to the people who will fund these things you want to change?
So basically you hold the court. So the university court meets maybe 4 or 5 times a year, and you literally hold court, and they'll go through things like budgets and all that. Now, obviously I used to work in construction. I used to be an estimator. So I will know, like, if they're building a new building, I'll be like, how much is that costing? And what is the square metre of that? Because I'll tell you right now if that is good value.
Be the first rector with a pencil behind your ear.
Pencil behind the ear, a scale rule and a tape measure. Walking about going, get that fixed. That's a shambles. I'll do the snagging list. But no, so I stuff like that, and discuss stuff. And then the students, so I would have a surgery once a month. But, I mean, it's only 10 minutes from my house. I can go up there a couple of times a month, take my job there, do my work there, be about, the lunchrooms, and they can come and they can talk to me and tell me what their stuff is, email me, and then I can go, right, this is a massive issue. This has to be brought up. And sometimes I think within education, and it's not particularly the lecturers, I think is the higher up and the longer you've been in education, it just becomes an ever-decreasing circle and a bit of an echo chamber. Whereas maybe someone who has been out, worked in the public sector, worked in the private sector, and kept coming in going, why are we doing it like that? Because we've always done it like that. There's maybe a different way of doing that.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean? Try and make life a bit better for people.
Aye.
If you win, you will be the third rector we've had on this podcast, because we had
Fred.
Fred on, who was
Can I
your
say, have you
rector.
spoke to Fred Macaulay?
Who was the rector of Dundee?
Yeah.
And then Greg Hempel was the rector of Glasgow for a
So
bit.
I spoke to Greg. We had a phone call about it, and I was like, what do you think? And he was like, go for it. It'll be great. You'll do a good job and this and that. And he was really, really supportive of it. And actually, Pat Kane of hue and cry as a former rector of Glasgow Uni. Also a St Ambrose student.
All right.
So I was like, listen, this is written in the stars. Me and Pat running about looking for Linda.
Following the footsteps of Hugh and Craig.
Aye. So yeah. I would like to get it just because I think I can make a difference, and that's a reason. And it'll be the one and only kind of political position that I ever take in my life.
Oh, that's
I was
interesting. I was
gonna
going to
ask
ask,
you about
aye.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
you sound like you'd make a good politician.
Oh,
No?
No. Do you know what? I couldn't cope with the bureaucracy. See all that. Yeah, well, we need to do this and we need it. But I'd be like, I'd just be screaming at somebody going, just get it done. You're the health minister. Just get it done. Aye, but, and I see all that. I would just lose it. I was the type of person that when I worked in an office and you'd be in an email chain and somebody, so say maybe you've won a job and the jobs went live and the surveyor's like looking at the money and the surveyor would like send you an email going, hi, Susie, I was wondering if you can point me in the right direction. And I'd be like, I'll point you in the right direction. I am 3 chairs away from you. Walk. Like, do you know what I mean?
I
Like,
used to do my nutting in an office, the emailing somebody that's sitting next to you.
oh, but like even somebody in the same floor, just walk down to them and be like, listen, can you sort this out? And generally I'd be like, aye, leave it there. I'll get to it, or I'll come back and see you tomorrow, right? What is it you need, right? Go away, sort it out. And then send the round robin email that you need to send going, as per yesterday's discussion, please find attached X, Y, and Z. Any other problems, give me a shout. But don't. And I couldn't cope with that kind of level of bureaucracy in government and seeing that.
You mad, wouldn't it?
Aye, just be like, just get it done. Oh yeah, I don't know if we can really. What we really need to do is no, just get it done. And I think in a world where you have career politicians who have only ever been politicians, that would actually, I'd be like,
Do you know?
see if this was an actual company, you'd be sacked.
Aye. See, speaking of that, and it's because you're talking about construction, right? This is my question for you, because do you know what my biggest bugbear in the world at the moment is, really? Well, in the world, but like just in Glasgow. See that fucking M8?
Yeah,
when you come out Charing Cross?
It's just,
And how long is that? But is that, do you think that that's like they've just employed somebody that's doing a shite job, or is that just how long it's going to take?
I think it's how long it's going to take because of where that actually is. So it's about securing the pillars
underneath the pillars, I know.
So you've got to deal with all the kind of technical issues there, of contraflows, traffic, and the health and safety of guys working in that.
Yeah.
So that's why they've kind of shut it down, I think, to kind
That's
of
the
speed
red
it
tape I would get rid of. And be like,
up. Just
just
listen,
let them take their
Fucking
chances.
build on.
have you not seen that picture of the boys on the crane? I mean, where's the
I've got, to get
health
to
and
I've got to
safety?
get to Monkey Barrel for Clydebank for 7 o'clock. Right? I can't even deal with these,
Right,
this
man.
fucking lane being done.
Aye, it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal, though, isn't it? It is brutal. You get
hate it.
raging about it.
How long's that meant to be lasting for? Because
Oh,
that's
ages.
been.
It's still
it's
for
about
a couple of years.
Is it? It's
Aye.
already been about 2 or 3
That's what I'm
years.
saying.
I feel as if the M8 is in a permanent state of repair
Aye.
at some point,
It is.
and whether it
It's
be
like
the
the
bridge.
fourth bridge, innit?
Aye,
Just
aye,
constantly
aye.
worked
Yeah,
on.
getting
Aye.
painted
I
constantly.
love the idea of like the 2 American listeners we've got listening to this just moaning about traffic locally.
I'd be
Yeah,
I'd be a single issue candidate. I'd be like, just
Fix
open
it,
back,
mate.
just fuck it, just open it back up. Who cares?
Listen, if you're not a good enough motor with good suspension, you're dead. You're dead.
Fuck it.
No, it's I think it is that. It is that, and that's what frustrates people. I think politics, and also, do you know what else I couldn't go into politics? Like even low level council, there is some amount of shysters in it.
I can imagine. Aye.
Like I have dealt with them over contracts and stuff like that, and there are many a person alluded to that contract. Oh, I'll be at the golf club at 4 o'clock on a Friday, and you're like, well, yeah, aye, I'll be getting ready for a gig, mate. I'm not dropping off any brown envelope to you. But there's a fair chunk of that goes on.
Yeah.
Even like booze at Christmas and stuff. So it'd always be a thing in construction that subcontractors that you've gave work to would hand in booze, and it just gets distributed through the office, right? But I remember working for a company and they were like, can you go to this place? And I went, all right. And they went, but don't go in the car park. Just go along the road and let me know when you're there. And I was like, all right. And I take my car. And I was like, all right. And I was dead. I was young and totally inexperienced. And I was like, all right. I went along. The next thing, guy appears, opens the boot of the car, like fine wines, fine malt whiskies. He's like, aye, thanks very much. Cheers. Then and I was like, what am I doing? He's like, no, it's all right. They just can't be promoting alcohol. And I'm like, no, they can't be like promoting bribery. That's what's going on. Do you know what I mean? Oh, it's wild, absolute wild.
I often wonder, like, if you got any, because even if you had the best intentions, not if you got any politics and whatever, regardless of just the sort of like that kind of like fair business, like businesses and all that. I also think, well, what about the mafia and criminals and all that? Because they've got to have some. You know what I mean?
Well, they reckon most of the buildings built in New York in the 70s and 80s was all concrete owned mafia concrete.
Really?
Where they were just going in and like taking over the sites.
Aye.
And they've done a lot of that. They've done stuff with fuel as well. And they reckon so many buildings in New York are built by the mafia and held up by their victims.
There's a good Trump documentary that's quite a lot about that, because obviously he was in construction in New York in the 70s, and it was all that. Like, just
You could basically be the new Trump.
Amazing.
You're an outsider, you know about construction, you could dive onto it.
They love me. Imagine that. Imagine. Oh my God. But I'd be too lefty. I think as well, like you look at the toxicity around politics, like not even just the people that are in it and the abuse that people receive for being a politician. No, never really the right people that are receiving the abuse, but not that any abuse is right. But yeah, I do think there is a thing where I go, no, I don't know if that would be a thing to encourage people into that career.
Aye. You done that debate night thing, the Scottish question time?
Oh, what a laugh.
I can't remember if we spoke about that to you last time. How did you find that when you were on it?
So I done it twice. So the first time was fine, and then the second time I done it was the debate night, Burns night special, 25th of January 2023, and it was in the Tool Booth in Stirling, and it was the day that Isla Bryson had been sentenced. So Isla Bryson. Fuck's sake. Isla Bryson was the trans prisoner who had been convicted of rape, right? And it was people going, they're not really trans and this and that. So knowing that question was going to come up, and it was all in the context of the GRR, because that was going through Parliament and all that. So for those of you that don't know the GRR, it was the like gender recognition certificate, basically, for people to be able to, if you're trans and you're identifying and you are living your life after changing your gender, you can be buried as that, you can change your driving licence. It's quite a common policy within 12 countries, right? And there was a real anti-trans movement on it. Now, Isla Bryson had been sentenced that day and had been sent to Cornvale. And the Conservative MSP who I was on with was going, well, there is a male rapist walking about a women's prison. And knowing that it came up, I went and looked at the court order. And the court order said that for 24 hours she would go to Cornvale in a segregated unit where all kind of sex crimes go. Whenever you go in, if you're convicted of something in court, and it's sexually related, you go into a seg unit until they work out what's exactly happening with you. So that's where she was. So she wasn't walking about a woman's prison like it was some kind of garden centre.
Yeah, nobody's just walking about, I think.
Exactly.
That was the whole point.
And as somebody who's gigged in women's prisons, they are generally one of the grimmest, bleakest places I've ever been, and they are so completely different from men's prisons.
Really?
Because men get visited by their wives, their mums. They'll bring the kids to see them, and all they really care about is their trainers and their tuck card, right, to buy their stuff. And women will go and visit men. But when a woman goes into prison, chances are she's in there because of a man in her life. It could be somebody that's ran up catalogue debt, because this is the type of nonsense that they're in for. Catalogue debt, council tax debt. It's maybe been their pimp. The guy's maybe been their pimp and their drug dealer. All of that. They're fell by the wayside. Kids are taken off them, either handed to other women in the family or in social services, and then they're packed into a women's prison. So if it's handed to the family, the chances of their mother going to see them is slim because they've got the kid. Right. The kid might be at school. And then the guy has long gone. He's well away, and they're in there. In a lot of women's prisons, they take a lot of kind of sleeping tablets and stuff like that because they just want to get through it, get to the end and get back to having their kid. And they could also be heavy drug dependent as well. So whereas, and you done prison gigs, didn't you?
I done one in, what do you call it? No, Pullman Young Offenders.
Young Offenders. So I done Pullman as well. And they're different. It's a different type of thing. And the guys' prisons are different. So I've done Berlin, and that's the old Victorian halls, right? And I mean, bleak, but fine. And the guys all come up and talk to you at the end. The women's prison's really dulled, and it's just awful. So I kind of said to this MSP, listen, that's factually incorrect. That person's in a seg unit. And I felt, I was 95% sure that Isla Bryson was going to be sent to a male prison, and they were trying to use a kind of loophole to protect themselves. And I then said, people need to be careful of the language that they use around this debate. I said, especially those in public office, because someone's son who might now be their daughter and someone's daughter who might now be their son is someone. I felt that was a very standard point, right? A very basic humanitarian point. So that was then clipped by a political party beginning with an A, and they clipped it and they joined it so it looked like I had defended a rapist.
Yeah.
And when you watched it and you watched the programme, it was clear it had been clipped, but by that point it's too late. So I had people like Gillian McKeith, James English, like retweeting it and, basically I'm this, I'm that, blah, blah, blah. And then this went on for like a week. And then I started, I was getting death threats. My family were getting death threats. People I love were getting death threats. Just because of that whole culture war thing. And you're just kind of like, it's not worth it anymore, because everyone is so completely polarised and all their little corners and all their little factions that, well, you must be wrong because I'm absolutely right. And no one's absolutely right. But we've just lost the art of disagreeing and being respectful. And that was genuinely like one of the worst weeks of my life. Like, it was horrendous. And I went to a gig on the Saturday, and there were death threats put out at that gig against somebody else who was in the room that night. And there was death threats put out. And
you're like, thank fuck for that.
No, they had to get police to make sure I was all right. And I left at the interval. I went home, and I remember my wife saying to me, I should never need to worry about you coming home for a gig. I should worry about you driving. I shouldn't need to worry about something happens to you. Yeah. And I remember just thinking, aye, that's it. And that's where Twitter get binned as well. Yeah. So I've been approached.
Are you off Twitter now? Yeah?
Oh, totally, aye, for over a year now. And I've been approached to go back in question time and debate night, and I'm just like, no.
Worth it.
No. Have I got news for you for now?
Stick to that. Know where we are, man. But you're all right with a joke.
Nothing's worth that aggro, is it?
No, not
ridiculous.
You're a comedian. Do you know what I mean? People are like, oh, and you're like.
And was there no repercussions for the person who clipped the video and because that's essentially just, could put your life. It has put your life in danger.
Aye. So we had discussions with a media lawyer and stuff, and they were very much like, just put the dish towel over the chip pan and just let it go, because the more you do it, the more you're perpetuating that echo chamber, and that's essentially what Twitter has just become, this real horrible, poisonous echo chamber. And you go, do you know what? I don't actually need it in my life, and they'll move on to someone else. Yeah.
So what was that for you? What was the dish towel for you?
Just don't respond, which was really difficult. Don't respond, don't engage,
delete Twitter,
and then just delete, and just get on with your life. Yeah. And that's what I have done. And listen, it's not prevented me doing anything, but you're just like, pfft. But then you sit and you go, imagine being a politician dealing with that every day. Imagine it, especially if you're a woman, because it was guys that were attacking you. So imagine if you're like Nicola Sturgeon or Liz Truss or Ruth Davidson. Like, it doesn't matter the party, because they're going to go for you. You know, Keeza Dugdale, even like Mary Black or whatever. Like, people, they will just attack. Because, look, let's not beat around the bush. There's a lot of angry people out there, and the majority of the anger comes from really angry men who just, what you doing? You're a woman with a voice. You know, there's a bit of that, and you're like, away you go. Back to your Mo's basement, you wee bit. What's it like being a virgin at 32? Just like, I can't believe you're single, mate. What a shocker. Do you know what I mean? It's that guy. It's the whole she's turned the reins against me guy.
And
It's scary though when you see it and they've got like a wee picture of their grandwayne in the picture, in the profile and stuff. Get a lot of that. You're like, you fucking got grandwaynes and you're on Twitter trolling cunts.
What's wrong with you, mate? Like, honestly, I went put on the kettle. Honestly, go and get yourself a wee nice cake for the supermarket tomorrow and watch the chase. You know what I mean? Like, relax.
I remember Frankie had a line about that, like when people slag him off on Twitter, because it's like, on Facebook, because then you can go on and see their ugly wains in their shit kitchen.
It's so true, innit? It's so true, man.
We should probably mention that yourself and Frankie and a young upstart called Chris MacArthur-Boyd.
I don't know how that boy's going to cope in this game.
A wee goblin.
New podcast, Here Comes the Guillotine.
Here Comes the Guillotine, yes. 3 people just sitting having a chat. There's absolutely no structure. There's
Sounds
no plan.
terrible. What kind of concept is that?
Not my kind of thing.
Just sit and go, what do you make about that? Did you see that? I went to tell you about this book I was reading. Invariably, we got on to serial killers quite a lot. I don't know what it is. We got into serial killers. I for the Zodiac Killer. There's a lot of Bible John content. I don't know. The topical. So one thing I will say. I know. Listen, it's just been great fun, and I never really had the whole podcast thing on my agenda. And then we kind of came together and was like, do you want to do this? And I was like, it sounds a laugh.
Aye.
And Global, very lucky, Global came up and said, we'll platform you. And we were like, oh, here, we should probably do this.
Aye, absolutely.
So it's really good fun. It's just like sitting with your 2 pals in the boozer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just having, and you know those chats that you have in the pub, even when you're not particularly drunk, but they just get more and more ridiculous. You know that way? You know, like on a Saturday, you're watching like Super Saturday or Soccer Saturday, and you're in the pub and you're like, £1 the next goal scorers get the same initials. First name, second name. I'll take a £1. It's just that kind of daftness. So I am really, really enjoying it. It's nice to spend time with you two as well, because they're good guys.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're good guys.
No, it's brilliant. It's like it's cool that there's something like that, like on a platform like that as well, like from like Scottish comics as well, because like I think there's not really many other ones like that as far as I can think of.
It's hard, isn't it? Though it's hard. Like you guys have been doing this how long now?
Nearly 2 years.
2 years, right? And you're like probably going to sell out the pavilion.
Yeah, sure. Tickets still Hey, well, it's going. It's good. Rolling good. No, I kick off the Arsenal for sure. Yeah.
Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
You'll sell that out.
Fine.
You'll still get what? Many weeks away? 6, 7 weeks.
6 weeks. Aye.
Get your tickets. I'm going to go. We're going out for dinner, then we're going to go. So no, it'll be good. It'll be good. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's a massive achievement.
Aye.
And a lot of people look at other podcasts and go, oh, but they've done this and look how it's not about that. You can't keep
not competition.
No, because you're different people doing different things. So you can't just keep going, oh, look at that, look at that. That is an incredible achievement. There are comedians who will never sell out a theatre that size that have been going for 20, 25 years doing their job. And you've been doing your podcast 2 years and you've managed to translate your own personalities through the internet and make people want to come and actually see you live. That's a phenomenal achievement. Do you know what I mean?
It's nice.
And it's not platformed. It's not on a Global or the BBC. It's just you guys doing it and putting it out yourselves.
Aye.
An incredible achievement. Absolutely.
Cheers.
No
Cheers,
cheat
Susie.
codes here, boys. No cheat codes here. No FIFA numbers. No wee reset button. You're like, raging. This wee 12-year-old's beating me at FIFA. Turn that off. Oh, power cut, mate. Power cut.
You talk about incredible achievements. You've done quite a few yourself since the last time you were on. I think since the last time.
Been busy.
That was about
This
a year,
time
probably
last year,
about
was it?
over a year ago, probably since you were on.
yeah.
So you've done well. Again, you've had your special,
Had
The
my
Kings,
special.
that's come out. You were on live at the Apollo. I think that you weren't on that before. Because that was just last year. You done
It
it.
was just last time.
New Year thing with Stuart as well.
That was good fun,
laugh,
wasn't
yeah.
Bunch of stuff. How was?
Class.
Let me ask you first about the Apollo. How was that for you as an experience?
It's incredible. So I'd get married on the 3rd of September.
Congratulations, brother. You also
That's
get married.
another-
That was
another
everything.
big thing,
It's such a comic thing,
Second
isn't it?
time.
Completely.
Lord of expectation, lads. I'm basically Scottish comedies Elizabeth Taylor now. So I get married on the 3rd and I went down to do that on the 9th.
Wow.
And I'd got notification through, I think it was like the first Friday of the Fringe. Agent phoned me and went, listen. I was like, great. So said to Nick, said to my wife, and she was like, right, that's fine. So I had like 4 days off and then the weekend before it. So my problem was, and it was a beautiful problem to have, my show at the King's, so Femme Fatality had been recorded for BBC. It was going out in BBC Scotland and then iPlayer. I couldn't use any of that show on Live at the Apollo because it was contractually embargoed. So I then had to go back to the Born Believer show, the 2022 show.
Is that what to do with dodgy gangster construction workers as well? This embargo, is it?
It's basically the BBC were hanging me over the squinty bridge. and we went, right, we'll take 4 days off after the wedding. But the weekend, so I was recording the Tuesday, so the weekend leading up to it, I was like, I just need to go and gig. So I was literally, so I like phoned the stand and I was like, I need gigs. And they were like, right, here's a load of gigs. Just run out your 20 minutes. And I was like, right, okay. So went back, constructed a set, was out that weekend, done the last one the Monday night. And I remember like sitting backstage at the stand in Edinburgh doing Red Draw and this comedian being like, could you watch my set and give me feedback? And I'm like, I really can't tonight, but see, the next time I will. But they were really sniffy about it, and I was like, I can't even tell you what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? But I was like, right, okay, fine, you can just be sniffy. So I went out and I done it, and flew down, and it was great. So Nick came with me, and it was lovely.
Is that your honeymoon then?
I was our honeymoon. Hey, she got 4 days.
That's good.
Easy. And we went down to London, went to the hotel, which was lovely. And then gets the car. So she's never done that thing where they send the car, because anytime I've been doing TV,
so she's just like us, basically.
So you're in a lovely hotel in Shepherd's Bush, and then they send a really nice car for you, right? And I was like, this is wild. Then we goes round to the Hammersmith Apollo, at which point Nicola was like, I mean, we could have walked that. I'm like, why do you need to walk everywhere? So goes in, and it's like, you know, you do all your checks, you do your wardrobe checks, everything like that. You go in, you meet everybody. So there was 2 shows. So the first show was the one with Troy Hawke, Olga Hawke, and Emmanuel Sonobi. So Emmanuel was hosting. And then my show was me, Michael Odawadi, and Maisie Adams. And Maisie had done it before, and Jason had been her host. So you're just hanging about for hours, right? And you know how warm London is, and like early September, and you're in this old theatre, and it's stunning, and then you're just kind of hanging about. Had some dinner, and then I eventually just went, right, we're going to walk, because I was like, I can't sit in here. So I was the last on the second show.
Wow. What time are you on it, do you think? About?
I would say about 10 o'clock. So they've been in, so they've sat through one show, and now they're going to sit through another show.
Same audience.
Aye, and a 4,000-seater. Do you know what I mean? And they're all obviously being directed and kind of right, stop and all that kind of stuff. So we went out a walk and went for a coffee and then walked back, and then Nicola was like, I'm away to sit in the audience. And then I was just in the room myself. My agent came in and just spoke to me. Then Nicola came back and she went, how many is it? And I went, it's about 3,500, 4,000. She went, 3,500, 4,000. That's like 2 kings. You've done 2 kings. It's just 2 kings in one room. I went, she went, 4,000. I mean, that's only like a third of the hydro when you supported Kevin.
Yeah.
And your name wasn't in the door. She's like, so you've done this and you've got this, and you just need to ignore everything behind you.
Yeah.
So when they get you down for your press shots, you stand next to the Apollo sign and everything like that. But I just remember her saying that, and I was like, right, that's fine. And I went downstairs and I went out, and all the makeup people, everybody's all at the side of the stage and they're watching it in these kind of big monitors. And Maisie gave me such a lovely introduction. She was like, just enjoy it. I said, did you not enjoy it the first time? She went, I did. But it took me maybe 5 or 10 minutes to get into it. She went, so don't do that. Don't like waste that. Just go and enjoy it. And I went out And I generally, like, honestly, it was like the time of my life. I had like 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And it was like, oh, this is what I've done all the tour support for. This is what I've done all my own theatre shows for. This doesn't feel like a big empty stage that I need to fill. This feels like I know how to fill this room.
Yeah.
This feels like I'm at the Kings, or it's just like a really bigger Kings, and it's really deep. And they're like, aye, the Beatles have played here and the Rolling Stones. And you're like, right, stop it. Then they go, Genesis have
You want to
played.
stand up though. I mean, like,
You're all right. I mean, you're good, Paul. No, that good.
aye. John Lennon had a few good one-liners, but fucking he wasn't in 25 minutes to stand up though. Was
Aye,
it?
my money would have been in Ringo. It was just a really incredible experience, and then seeing it on TV was incredible because that's that programme that you've watched before you were a stand-up.
Aye.
And then you're on that, and that was like massive. And Fern had done it before me, and Larry, so he'd be up there with those guys who have done it, like obviously Frankie and Kevin, right? But we just take them out of the kind of Scottish comedy equation now, right? But you know, to be seen as good as them, it just felt great, you know, and just very, very fortunate and very lucky. And but it did feel that this is what they do. This is the cup final. This is what all the other gigs were for.
Yeah.
So that when you went out onto that stage, that very much felt like you've not went from the stand to there.
Yeah.
You've done all the bits in between.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's the important thing is as well, isn't it? Like, we're seeing people doing stand-up in big rooms who have never done it, but they've done it on Instagram, like they've done it down a camera.
Yeah.
And then they kind of go into a big stage and they're like, oh, and you're like, you've not quite get that.
It's a bit different.
It's an entirely different thing, and it's a gear change thing as well.
Sure. Well, I mean, even when I done Kings, I did literally go fae the stand to there, and it was a big jump. And so my whole thing was just make sure you like feel comfortable and look comfortable, look relaxed. But what I would say, because I think I actually said to you after a senior Apollo set, that was the main thing. Is like you just looked like you belonged there.
It was so nice to hear that. It was such a lovely, lovely thing to hear, because that's how you wanted it to come across as well, because that's what it felt like. But like you're saying, like I went from the stand to the Kings, and that is a big jump. But you've earned that jump because you've already done it there continually over and over again. So it's a different thing, but you then realise the level of performance that you do, you know, because your performance changes because you're in that size of room. Yeah. And I don't know if just stand, like for me, I couldn't just stand at a mic on that size of stage and that size of room. I like to try and bring it in. And I'm really short as well. You know what I mean? Like I've got a 25 inside leg, man. I'm tiny. So I need to kind of bring them in. Do you know what I mean? Because especially if you're at the top or at the back, I need to make the room feel smaller for them to see me, kind of thing.
You can be quite a physical performer though, can't you? Like mannerisms and stuff. And,
aye. Like my face and stuff like that. I've just got a daft face. Like moon face.
Gotta use it.
Aye. Totally. But no, it was a great thing to be part of, and I was in such a lovely bill with such lovely people. And there's actually a bit when you watch it, as I walk off and Maisie walks on, you hear Maisie going, "Smashed it, mate, smashed it." And I was like, that's so nice, man.
Brilliant.
That's great.
Yeah.
Amazing. And like, it's funny you're saying about the kind of embargo thing with the material, because when I watched that and then I seen your special and then that New Year's thing, I was like, fucking hell, how much material Susie got?
That's what we were talking about before you were doing that, because you were like looking in notebooks from like your 2015 show and stuff like that, because you're like, I've just done it all on the Apollo. And
I've done.
And then the special. And
the bankers, I've got the special there. And I knew what was in and what was out the special, but you're still going, no, because if you've seen me then, you've seen, like maybe if you've just came on and started seeing me, you've not seen the really old stuff, the Diet Club and the Nutella and all that kind of stuff. So that was a kind of really... It's always nice to go back, but it's always nice to go back and go, I remember that show, and that was this show, and that was this show, and I done that show there, and it was enjoyable. So, and then you kind of hopefully look at your writing and go, no, my writing's get better. There's about 4 minutes here about a punchline. Sitting with a red pen, marking your own work, like, That's a terrible joke. Why didn't anybody tell me how bad that was? You know what I mean? But no, it was good. It was a really, really good year, and I was really fortunate. Honestly, I had a great year. Like, the special was a thing that the BBC had approached round about this time, round about early February, had approached my agent and went, we'd like to film this at the King's. So by that point, I had sold out. I was 3/4 of the way sold out a second date because we had to put on a second date.
Aye.
So I was like, right, well, both shows will be sold out. So that's fine. I don't need to worry about it. Put eyes on it. So they put it out to tender. Company gets in, and then we brought on an executive producer to produce it, who sits kind of separate from them and separate from me, but it kind of goes between me and them. And he came up with loads of meetings and stuff about it and how the setup was going to go. And then that was just that was an incredible day, like, to walk into the King's and there's like staff and stuff and cameras and lights and hair and makeup, and it's like, this is all for you, and you're like, I better deliver this show, man. And it was only my second run out of it.
That's crazy.
That is mental.
But it was when they'd contacted me, so you can't knock that back. And because they were covering the costs of all the production, plus giving you a fee.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you go, right, okay, I need to make sure that this works. So,
Aye.
It did. It's not like you were up there with a notepad going,
well,
what else can I tell
see
you?
what happens this year.
You have got, and I mean this in a positive way, a real kind of lunch pail mentality when it comes to stand up and that. Because anytime I've spoke to you about gigging and stuff, and like we've maybe done some rough gigging, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to say to these people. And you've said to me before, like, just use what's in your toolkit.
Aye.
And I always think it's a great way of thinking about it.
Always pull out the toolbox. Sometimes, see when you work on site, right? And I've seen when you've got a van and you're jumping about jobs, right? There are things in your toolbox that you might no touch for 2 years.
Aye.
And then you go, oh, I tell you what I need for that, and I know exactly where that is.
A plunge bob.
Where it gets. There we go. It's normally a hammer.
You use the hammer for 2 years.
When you're asparagus, that's what the joiners are for.
See.
Your hands are precious. No, but it is that thing where you go, oh, I've not used that for ages, but that's the job for that tool, and that's how I'm going to deal with that.
Aye.
And then there's stuff that you use every day, all the time, and that's how I just kind of look at comedy, that you go, you've got your stuff that you know, you can use it in a corporate set, you can use it in a club set, it's all good, it's great, but then sometimes you go into a room, you go, oh, this is a roll about the floor shot, this is a roll about the floor, there's a bit of sawdust. They're not comedy literate, they're not willing to listen to a message, so do you know what, you need to get what you need to get out of that gig, because I'm not doing that gig for the money, I'm doing that gig to run out material. So you maybe need to start, batter them round the head with some old stuff and get them on side. Go into the new stuff because you're bullish and confident about it. Mm-hmm. And then you come out the end with a nice ending that you know that they're going to like, and then you're like, job done. Mm-hmm. And that's sometimes you just need to
When ugly.
Yeah.
So sometimes you're just in a horrible cup game on a Wednesday night. But it's that thing, and a lot of people aren't willing to do that, and a lot of new comics aren't willing to do it. You know, they kind of think that the stands are right.
Yeah.
You know, like when you two were coming through, especially, you certainly didn't think that. You were like, get to play the stand.
Yeah, it was a big moment.
It was, aye, like your Red Rose and going, no, boys, you should be doing Sundays and weekends. Right? Come on now, you're good at this. And that kind of thing of going, whereas now it's like, I mean, when am I going to get to the hydro? And you're like, shut up. Sit down, shut up. Do you know what I mean? When are you going to write a good joke? Then we'll worry about the rooms that you're playing.
Absolutely. I do always feel that like whenever people get to, like, because this is just part of being a comic, you always moan about that kind of stuff. But see, when you spend too much time doing it, it's like, how much time are you spending moaning about this kind of stuff versus your act? And just if you just keep on your act, that's the only solution, really, I've always felt.
So I think that's a big thing. And I think you are a really good example of this, because I remember seeing you at a Gong show. It was terrible, Mark. Wasn't bad.
No.
It wasn't great.
No, it was bad.
6 months later, incredible. It was like it wasn't bad. Like, there was something about you. You were very likeable and all that.
Aye.
And it wasn't bad, but suddenly you just looked and sounded more like a comedian 6 months down the line.
Aye.
And it was like you gave yourself that breathing space and you went, no, I know, this is what I want to do. And you went away and you worked and you honed it and you watched.
Yeah.
And you went, oh, right, that's what they're doing. That's what, right, that, right. And it was like you then learned how to kind of put it together and go, right. And then once you've learned that bit and you're confident in that, then you can let your personality come out. Do you know what I mean? So that was a thing. Whereas now it's like, I will, if you don't like it, tough, because this is who I am. And you're like, no, it's not really how it, what they need to like you.
Yeah.
Like, if an audience don't like you, you're not going to keep
You can get away with a lot if people like you, but if
likability is massive.
it's funny, when you see an actor, it's like it's really likable, and obviously, like the more the audience likes you, the better it's going. But when someone's really likable, but for whatever reason they get off on the wrong foot or something, the audience like them, and you're like, "Fuck,
I know.
I've never seen somebody not like this before."
Aye,
It's like,
totally. And there is an uncomfortable. You're like, oh my God, I see if they're dying. How well am I going to do? And it is that thing where you start to get that kind of fear by osmosis because you're watching your own nightmare thing going, no, like there was an occasion, wasn't there, in Kilkenny where I never enjoy watching a comedian die. But there was this one comedian.
Oh fuck!
It's not Mark, is it?
It was the longest 10 minutes of his life and maybe one of the best 10 minutes of mine ever watching comedy. So me and Mark went to the Kilkenny Festival last year, which was awesome.
It was brilliant.
It's a
Great,
great
So
festival.
much
great.
fun.
Some of the best Guinness you'll ever taste in your life. Great audiences. And there was another comedian there who was quite posh, quite plummy. And he was what do the Irish eat? To which Mark looked at me and
And
went,
then they said I was Googling Irish cuisine. That's what they said.
Googling Irish cuisine. To which I look at Mark and I can see him going, like, I can just see in his face, he's like, oh, no, don't. And I was like, what? He went, yeah, their food looks shit. And I was like, it's the same food. Right? It was incredibly posh English. So I was like that. I was raging when I was.
Yeah,
I was
very
offended.
funny watching Susie's reaction.
He was like, "Oh, I don't know what," and I kind of felt like going, "Oh, it depends if your relatives gave them the soup," but I thought that'll go above his head, and he'll no understand the reference, right? So we arrive in Kilkenny, which is beautiful, right? So there's like a medieval castle, a river, a footbridge. Everything's beautiful.
The weather was brilliant. That weekend, you know.
Stunning. And your man's like, they use euros. What's even that about? It doesn't look European. And I'm like, it could literally not look any more European with a medieval castle like from the 13th century. It could, like, mate, we could be like in the outskirts of Dubrovnik. Do you know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? And then I went down to watch a gig on the Saturday afternoon, and he kind of done a joke about, and he kind of said to the local population, do you know what the internet is? Do you just know this story?
No.
Was he on the wind up though?
Yeah, because that
Must
was
have
his
been, surely.
shtick. That was his shtick,
Aye, that is
right?
his whole hang. Aye.
And a woman shouted, I think you'll find we invented the internet. A woman about my age. To which he shouted in Kilkenny, the Midlands of Southern Ireland, with a plummy English voice, I think you'll find the Brits invented the internet. Well, I have never felt tension in a room like it. I was like that. Somebody get me popcorn. And the silence in that room was actually deafening because the whole room as a collective, and I've never seen it before, just went for the remaining 8 minutes. I'm like, Pringles. Let's watch this death. And I've never watched that type of thing. Like I've been in green rooms and I've watched comedians run out of green rooms because they can hear the death. Right, you know that utter silence, especially at the stand in Glasgow.
You go, what's going on?
Here, there.
That's the only time sometimes you're like, I better watch this, it's going badly.
100%, innit? I can't do it. On this particular occasion, I did do it. It was great. And it was great because after it, an act went up and done her spot all in the Irish language. And he was like, another level of ignorance. Do you know what she's saying? well, no, of course I don't, because I'm not Irish. And then I went, no. I said, but I'm pretty sure you're getting called a wanker. Because the whole room was laughing. But that death thing is my absolute fear. And dying is my absolute, like
silence.
No, sometimes I enjoy the silence if I'm building a bit up.
Aye, no, but like silence.
But that whole
There's
just
different
people
silences, isn't
when
there?
it's not
just
supposed to
staring
be.
at you, man. You're like, oh no, this is.
But I can't imagine that happening to you. Like, I've never even seen you have an alright gig. It's all you've always smashed it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, that's very nice of you to say. I'm sure I haven't always smashed it, but I just enjoy it. I enjoy it so much, and I enjoy being in that stage that even if it's not going well, I'll still try and get a positive out it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And go, you're really privileged to be here. You're really lucky to do this as a job.
Aye.
And I think a lot of people lose sight of that when they've been going a wee while
Of
as
course,
well.
aye.
Oh, how lucky you are. Do you know what I mean? Like, we could all literally be sat in a call centre or in an office or doing something right now that we absolutely hate, and we're not. We're just sitting having a chat with microphones.
Yeah.
How lucky are we?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That the bills are getting paid and there's food on the table and everything's fine
Yeah.
because you get to do this for a living. That's an incredible stroke of luck, and I just wish more people were a bit happier about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes you do kind of get a bit, like, I was saying to Catherine the other day, like, we were kind of recording a bit earlier, and I was like, I need to get up early. And she's like, oh, to go and chat to your pals, that's a sin.
That's it, innit?
I need to go to a fucking office and do
Aye.
actual work.
Aye,
And then
aye,
you
And
do
still
lose
early
sight
for
of it.
us is still. Like,
Aye, exactly.
Aye.
You lose sight of it, though, don't you, a wee bit sometimes?
I mean, in fairness, you three boys have got very soft hands as it is. Right? They have not been weathered on a site at any point.
I was an apprentice for my Uncle Charlie.
I was a labourer for 3 weeks.
Is that all you
my
lasted?
uncle's landscaping. No, it was because I was getting money together to go to Magaluf after my first year at Glasgow Uni.
Wait till we, Stevie, what apprentice were you?
He does all sorts. He's a bit of a cowboy, but
See where you get it for, Stevie. So you were an apprentice, but to no particular trade.
he's a joiner. He's a kitchen fitter, and I was
Handyman.
He's a handyman.
You're a handy boy.
And I was helping him.
He's got a good
Wait.
toolkit.
He
Are
does.
you going for the teas?
Do I?
Going for the tea?
Now and again, but I was also carrying tiles up the stairs. My wee arms were killing me after that. I had to like hold things for him, get his tools out and all that sort of stuff. It was hard work. It was the best
hard work.
sleep I've ever had in my life.
Aye.
That's true, to be fair. Aye,
There's my nephew-in-law and my old neighbour. I remember getting them to apprentices at very different stages. Both got them apprenticeships to be Sparkies, and I remember for both of them, the first 6 weeks they would be in their bed for like 6:30 at night, just wiped out because it was just a day. And especially being an apprentice, because you're running about, you're going to the van, you're getting the cable, you can't, right, that's the delivery, get that swept up, like you're just doing, you're not really having to think about it, you're just literally manual labour. And they were like, aye, I'm not seeing my girlfriend today. I'm just going to my bed. Do you know what I mean?
Straight to bed, and then you wake up ready to go in the van again.
Ready
Back to
to-
work.
aye, get a wee snooze in the van on the way to the site. No, Stevie, I can tell your type. I'd have you clocked straight away.
How long did you do that for?
Probably 2 weeks.
At least you were honest about your 3-week Magaluf. Do you know what I mean?
No, I was in the summer holidays. I done some labour. It was good. I really enjoyed it because it was like the summer and you go about, and I still like go by all the places like doing Uncle Patrick. And I'm like, I fucking laid that fucking driveway on it.
It's like, that's me in the tune. I'm like, Nicola, fitted you, like, see that even? I fitted that. See that box sign over there? And she's like that. Honestly, we were talking about, me and my mate were talking about this. Her dad's a quantity surveyor and still was like, my job. That was my job, like just pointing at buildings, going, "What is it you do?" Like, as if you just build everything, when really you were just charging for it. Do you know what I mean? Aye, it's funny, man. Funny. Very soft hands, though, lads. Stuart, were you ever a...
Beautiful hands.
2 summers cutting grass at the golf club.
This is the most desperate. This is the most desperate housewives thing I've ever heard.
He was around when they were making all their deals for the council.
Aye.
I used to fall asleep on the couch 3:30 solid every day. Up
Aye.
at 6.
Early
Fucking
start.
terrible.
Aye, that's
Early
early
start.
I did like being out in the sun though. It was good.
Yeah. It's
did
nice.
like that.
Aye, it's a good summer job,
My hair
isn't it?
turned blonde.
Did
What's
it?
up, yeah, in the sun.
Tom Blonde, the guy that cuts the grass. Imagine how many lasses had crush on that. Or just there, all just sitting watching you.
I can't imagine many women were let in golf clubs in Fife, to be fair. But
Well, it's the 21st century we're talking about here, although there wasn't that many playing, and they were all over 75. But I was a big hit with the
I
grannies,
bet
though,
you
I
were.
gotta say.
I bet they're like, come round, son, my lawn needs trimmed. Test it, my hip.
Susie, you were telling me and Stuart, I think this was actually just before you done it this year, but you were telling us because you got to host the New Year thing
Yes.
in Edinburgh.
Yes.
For Hogmanay.
Pulp, is
Yes.
that right?
Class.
Jarvis Cocker.
But you done it twice.
Twice.
Two very different experiences
Aye,
for
I
you,
wasn't
was
sure
it?
if you could tell us the first one, but I did want to hear it again.
Right, I'll tell you so. So, 2023, first time I get to go to host Edinburgh's Hogmanay, a party, Princess Street Gardens West, like, great. So, the way that year was structured was that they were going to have a DJ and then me for like 5-10 minutes, which is really just kind of crowd control, and then get on the headline act up to like 2 minutes to 12. I go on, prepare them for the countdown, do the countdown, we're off. And then the headline act come back on. So the headline act was the Pet Shop Boys. And I was like, oh my God, 7-year-old me. Oh my God, 7-year-old me would just be like, no way. These guys have sang with Dusty Springfield. Amazing, right? Just dead excited. Alan, one of the organisers, he was dead excited. I go round there and it's like that horrible drizzle rain. It's just consistent.
Aye.
Edinburgh rain.
Edinburgh rain. It's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon doing all the sound checks, all the stuff, making sure we've got everything as is, how it is. Alan's like, that's your green room down there, right? No bother. You and the DJ will share it, I no bother. So I was like, aye, fine. So goes back to the hotel. So they'll give me a hotel. My wife's in the hotel. We get ready. She's coming around with me. Two's dead excited. Quite. Listen, that green room, you can't go there. Why? Well, the main act, Pet Shop Boys, that's for their crew. You can't go in there. And I'm like, how can we not go in there with their crew? If we're all just crew. Like, I'm not saying go in there with them, but their crew. No, their crew's got to be kept separate. So I'm like, what? So then we did an arrangement that at the back of Princess Street Gardens, right underneath the castle, we could go out. After I've done the countdown, I can go meet my wife there. There'll be management there, and see the bells and the fireworks. Blah blah blah. Get a beer, and they were like, "Listen, the guys really want that from themselves and their families." And I was like, "Do they? Aye." Yeah, and they were like, "Yeah, if you could just go somewhere." I was like, "So where's your bothy bit?" And they were like, "Oh, if you just go in the bothy with all the worky lads," which totally didn't bother me, Nicola. Right, Nicola's like, "Any you want a cup of tea?" Right? And I was like, I said, "This is a public park, innit?" And they went, "Aye, it's Princess Street Gardens." I went, "Right." I said, "Well, here's the thing." I said, "See those two Pet Shop Boys? Why don't you go and tell them that this little lesbian helped make them the Pet Shop Boys by buying their albums? And I am my country's capital, and I will see the fireworks where I want. Doesn't matter where it is. I don't care who you are." And they were like, "All right, okay." And I was like, "Good." So I said, "Nicola, go round there. I don't care who's there. Just go round there." So I goes round there. I've done the countdown. Whoa, it's going mental. Everybody's singing Old Lang Syne. I've come round the back. And Nicola's very discreetly putting bottles of beer in all the security guards' pockets because she's went into their crew room.
Robin Hooded it.
Aye. She's like, "Put them in your pockets, going round, opening up beers." And I'm like, "No, I'm not meant to drink and shift." And Nicola's like, "Have a drink. Have a drink, have a drink." And then this year was Jarvis Cocker, and generally, like honestly, genuinely, it was one of the best experiences of my life. He was so nice, he was so sound, and he spoke about his mum was incredibly ill, right? Incredibly ill. And he spoke about it on stage to the audience, but he went out and he was honestly just the absolute showman. Now, I went to Transmit, I talked about this in the show, I went to Transmit to see him this year. And for me to see Jarvis Cocker is like an absolute cultural icon for my generation, right? Unbelievable. And I'm stood at the side and there was like the set list. And I took a picture of the set list and all that, and I was just like, didn't post it or anything. I was like, this is amazing. Stood it like literally, like I could have hit him. Do you know what I mean? Spitting distance. And he does the full bit, and they overrun, and everybody's getting quite nervous because they need to get him off and me on. They need to get the whole of Pulp off and me on. And I think it was after the bells. No, I think it was before the bells. They brought Richard Hawley on, one of the original members of Pulp, doing different bits and bobs. And I had to go on, and I came off and done the countdown. And then they went back on. We stood at the side of the stage having a beer, living my best life. And he's like, right, that's it. So that's a bit. The whole place is going mental because he's not done Common People yet. Oh. And he's like, what's that song? Nah, I don't know that song, Right? He's just noised them up, and he was great fun. Like, he really engaged with the audience. Like, the Pet Shop Boys have that kind of mask thing and all that going on. He really engaged with them, had a laugh, and he went, right, and they played Common People, and the place went bananas, right? I've never seen anything like it. Now, the thing was, every other act that's ever played Edinburgh, I am led to believe, they keep it in the gardens, and the street can hear it, but they can't see it. But this year they were like, nah, it's fine. Pulp were like, on you go, just blast it. So everybody was watching Pulp. So there's like 50,000 people watching Pulp, singing and dancing to Common People. And then at one point during the song, they bring out two pipers. And it was, honestly, man, the hairs in the back of my neck. I was like that. And I'm going to keep this together. And that day, we had went up. I'd been there for 3 days because I'd been doing different gigs, and we went up Princess Street. And Nicola bought me the LP. Now, I've got, like, albums up in the wall in my house, and one of them was Common, one of them was Different Class. And she bought me the LP, and she got Alan, the organiser, to get it signed, introduced me to Jarvis, had a laugh, got a picture taken, and it was amazing. It was amazing. And then as we were leaving, Nicola went, hold on, this might need cut. But she went backstage, and there was his plectrum. And so she's waiting, got it framed for me. She gave me it last week.
Oh, amazing.
So I've got my signed Jarvis album, my Pulp wristband, my Pulp pass, and Jarvis's plectrum. And I honestly, man, I'm like, that's one of the coolest things I'll ever own. But he was so lovely. He was so nice. Just such a, there's a lot of people like him, like Frankie to a degree as well, where they're kind of, they're poets. Do you know what I mean? Like if you listen to the lyrics of these songs, they're probably more relevant now.
Yeah.
Like Common People is probably more relevant now than what it was when I was growing up. Because as I was growing up, that kind of social change was happening, and it felt there was a lot more equality. Whereas now you're like, actually, we're more polarised. So, but what an absolute legend that man is, man. Honestly, I'd give him an organ.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take one of my organs, but I would give him an absolute, like an icon with his moral compass well and truly pointing in the right direction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can be a cultural icon, but
be a cunt.
I wasn't going to say this.
And the great thing is, it's gave you an ending to your upcoming show now, because you get two pipers coming on the stage.
I'm actually a piper. That famous bit of material of mine, if there's only one thing worse than a piper, that's 100 of them. But I know it was brilliant. It was brilliant. What an experience.
Amazing.
It's just a mental job, innit, it, sometimes. Yeah. It's mental sometimes, innit? Yeah. Like I was in the studio the other day on Off the Ball, and then it was you summing up, noising up. And then it was Stuart got the mention for being the producer on it. And I was like, that. Fair play, lads. That's decent, isn't it? That's nice.
And meanwhile, you're sitting with like a footballer or something, or like something. I think that's always mad with the football adjacent stuff. You're always like, how have I ended up meeting Craig Gordon or whatever?
Aye, that's like when I met Ange Postecoglou, and I was like, oh my God, I can't breathe. Whereas today, I'm like, come home, Ange.
Less said about that, the better, probably, to be honest. But well, listen, I think that probably is we've
covers
done
it.
Over and around.
Thanks so much, Susie.
Thanks so
That
much,
was
Susie,
great.
as always.
You've
coming
got
on
the plug, don't you?
Yes, before
You're very diplomatic in that Pet Shop Boys anecdote as well, compared to previously. You did well there.
Try to do it so you could put it out.
Aye, no, yes, we appreciate that. So what have you got coming up? So you obviously got your Glasgow Comedy Festival shows, multiple shows at the King's.
Saturday night's sold out, Friday night's almost sold out, so it's Friday the 15th, there's like maybe 20 tickets left. Saturday the 16th, evening show's sold out, but there's still tickets for the matinee.
Nice.
And if you're a student at Glasgow University, and you see me about the campus, come up and talk to me. Contact me on socials if you've got anything you want to talk about, because I'd really like to be a rector.
Is it bribery if you offer them free tickets to your show?
Aye,
You can't do that.
Can't even you
Student
can't even
discount.
stand with them. Like if you say, "Oh, you can vote the now," so it's like the 25th. You can't even stand with them while they do it. Aye. They're really strict. You've got like £200 budget.
When is the election?
The 25th, 9 o'clock on the 25th of March until 4 o'clock on the 26th. And then it's announced on the night of the 26th.
Wow.
6 o'clock at night.
Big
Good
month.
luck, exciting. Yeah, good
Oh,
luck.
I tell you, imagine me. I'd be running about with a bomb up and I won, thinking I'm in Harry Potter. That big cloak on in one of the boards. Amazing, what a laugh. Just phoning Eva going, listen, I'm at my work. Can I nip round and do 10 minutes? I've just written a new 10. But I know, it'll be good. It'll be good. Listen, it'll be good. But I think the Sturgeon has the strongest case. Certainly his campaign team will be engaged, and that'll be people who are politically engaged. So I think he might be a shoo-in for the symbolism of it, and that's absolutely fair.
Sure. Oh, fair enough.
But you know,
But
I'll fix your sockets myself.
That's it. And you've obviously, as we mentioned, got your new podcast out. Here Comes the Guillotine. with-
Here Comes the Guillotine with me, Frankie Boyle and Christopher MacArthur-Boyd, and sometimes it sounds like Christopher's talking to his grandparents. which I also think, imagine if me and Frankie had been a couple, we would never have seen pensionable age.
Aye. See if this was the 90s, this was all happening, this would just be a sitcom we
It
used
would be.
to, and Chris
would
is
be.
your son.
This is our son.
Him asking you to if you know about the internet.
Aye. Him asking if you know about the internet, and Frankie talking about how he's not shaving balls or something. I don't know, and me just going, wait till I tell you about the Cambridge spies. So no, aye, Here Comes the Guillotine. It's available on all your platforms. It's really great fun. If you just want a daft laugh with nothing, who can?
Yeah. Can I imagine people that listen to this podcast like that sort of thing?
Listen, let me
Actually,
tell you,
seems too informed for our listeners.
there is this podcast is decidedly better looking than our podcast. That's all I'm going to say. There's one pretty boy in the guillotine, and it's no Frankie. Might
is
be
no-
me. Very rarely. No, but do tune in. It's a good laugh.
Brilliant. Well, thanks a lot for
Thanks for
joining us.
having me,
Susie.
guys.
thanks for coming
Thanks
on.
for being
And
back.
good luck with the pavilion.
Cheers.
Thank
Thank you.
That's going to be incredible. And I know Mark's done the Kings, but you two need to take a bit of time
Take it in.
and take it in, because it's the Pavilion Theatre, and honestly, it's on the back of your own name. And I really feel that, like I said this to you last year, didn't I?
Yeah.
I had that whole chat with you last year about it's on your name and this is you, and you've got to do that, because it can be quite, oh well, I've just done this, but these people do it. Fuck, you've done that,
Yeah.
and
take
it's a
it in.
great
cheers,
accomplishment. Yeah, and enjoy it.
Cheers.
Enjoy every single minute of it, because it'll be cracking.
It will be. It will
Thank
be.
you,
Thanks.
Susie.
Cheers, Susie. Appreciate it.
And of course, as we mentioned, we are doing the Pavilion. The ticket's still available for that. As ever, please just remember to like and subscribe on YouTube. Give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And you can follow us at SomelaugHPod on Instagram, TikTok and Twitter. And send any questions you've got to our email address, which is somelaugHPod@gmail.com. Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. And we'll speak to you very soon.
See you at the
Thank you,
pavilion.
Susie.
Cheers, Susie.
Cheers, Susie.